Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 5th of March, comes to you from London. And the very big question we're going to try and answer today, and I might need to do a longer session because I'm only allowed 10 minutes on LinkedIn, but the big question that we're going to answer today is, have energy markets actually bottomed? And so that's the really big question. Have we seen the bottom? Are we now in a new rising market? And I'm going to come back and do that at the end of this session. But first, I want to just talk about what's going on in the main markets. I've got a lot of clients who don't trade energy and a lot of clients who do. So I'm going to try and keep everybody happy this morning. So the key thing is we're waiting for this dollar breakout. We are really stuck in this range at the moment. And the big question here is what's going to happen. We've got non-farm payrolls at the end of the week. All eyes will be on that. Will they show a strong showing as they have done in recent months, which will lead to the market thinking that the interest rates will not be loosened whilst the economy is running hot. So that's really quite key. The dollar is looking in a range at the moment. And sterling similar, we're waiting for the UK budget at the moment. That's happening tomorrow. So that's going to be quite key. If we look at that against the dollar, no clear signs yet. Against the euro, if it's a favorable budget and we break 118, then we've got a very big upside target on the daily chart. But we've also got a downside target on the 60 minutes. So a lot of uncertainty there. And of course, the sterling euro rate is normally fairly flat because the currencies are relatively well aligned. Looking at Bitcoin, we've got this big upside targets. The two upside targets met yesterday, nudging a new high. We shouldn't be surprised to see resistance around this level. And the interesting thing is that we've got this upside target to 90,000 on Bitcoin, but we do have this little new nuts downside target to 64,000. You'll notice on the 60-minute chart that there's no clarity in terms of where we're going next. We've got a downside target, these upside targets met. This pullback could lead to then another thrust, giving us another upside target. So that's really what we're watching for. And of course, if you're trading Bitcoin short term, you want to be looking at the 1-minute charts or the 10-minute charts to get a heads up on what's happening in the very short term. Interesting thing in markets at the moment, we're seeing, I'll look at tech stocks in a minute, we are seeing a bit of a split occurring where some stocks are doing really well, others are starting to turn lower. So that's really quite interesting. But the Nasdaq itself, we've got upside targets here, looking very strong indeed, being powered by stocks like Nvidia, Microsoft, so you're really quite, and Amazon, but we are seeing others starting to come back, so they're really quite interesting. And if we look at the S&P future, we are seeing, again, we've got upside targets following the upside target to train at the moment, so it's really hard to be bearish about US stocks, although we are just starting to wander away from this target a little bit, and we watch that move below the cloud. Looking in Europe now, we've got the FTSE future. That's a bit of a mixed picture. Downside target in train at the moment. The longer term upside target on the daily, not yet activated. On the 60-minute, we have activated a downside target. Nerves ahead against the UK budget. And if we look at the DAX in Germany, we're seeing here, we are going to the targets. Looking at this 60-minute target that was given back on the 23rd of February, that's probably been met, although it wasn't actually met. We can start to see now we're wandering below the cloud. That's how you read the target. You say, well, that target's not really now got much legs left in it. We probably went most of the way towards it. Looking at Japan, that's been very, very strong indeed. New all-time highs there. This is the 400 index. 27,000 is the target there. We're currently sitting at 24,000 and good upside targets on the 60-minute. No denying Japan is looking strong. And if we look at China, that has had a resurgence as well. So the key thing here is we've just moved above the cloud. We have activated an upside target. We've got another 1% to go on the 60-minute chart. Watch those targets very, very carefully. And looking at, we'll look at the energy mix in a minute, but looking at some of the other things, just soft commodities, a bit of a mixed picture here. Corn still down down train tracks here, but new 60-minute upside targets on the 60-minute chart. So really this mixed picture of markets just starting on commodities, just starting to bottom and maybe run again. So that's a theme of energy as well, but it's happening in some of the soft commodities too. So really quite key there. Now gold did make a new all-time closing high last night. So we did go higher back in December, but we've actually closed at the highest level that we've seen. If you're looking at the long-term targets, really big upside targets here, 2593 and 3673. The targets on the 1% chart on the weekly chart. So really, but don't forget these targets, this target here, 2026. So don't get terribly excited. That's a couple of years away on that chart. But interestingly, we've passed those targets and looking very, very strong indeed. And silver, a lot of news yesterday on silver. A lot of people are tracking this as well, breaking higher, and it was up strongly yesterday as well. US 10-year yields, because these non-farms are going to have an impact there. We're seeing here upside targets on the daily chart, downside targets on the 60-minute chart, really dominating at the moment. So we've just got a lot of uncertainty going on there, mixed picture as well. I mentioned some of the tech stocks. Apple tracking lower. We've activated this downside target to 153. That's 12% lower. The downside targets on the 60-minute chart have been generated and met. So you really cannot ignore that. Microsoft still looking stronger with upside targets there. And spare a thought for, and if you look at Nvidia, that's still looking very strong indeed, waiting for a new upside target. Well, it's actually been activated, upside targets all the way. But Tesla, spare a thought to Tesla, this is not looking good. Downside target 50% lower. Who's going to believe that? So really quite key there, and really just that's hanging over us. We are just testing the cloud a little bit here, but not looking great on the daily chart. Now, the energy mix, the key thing here is the gas, European gas market is turning a corner, and we are going to talk about what you have to look out for. Most people just want to know the answer, but it's not that simple just to say, yes, they've bottomed. Signs are looking good, but there are a few things that we have to watch out for. And really, if you've want to put the time to it, that's really what counts. Now, I'm going to look, first of all, at Brent Crude. We're waiting for this target to activate. A move above $84 would activate that target. We are teetering with that. This downside target nearly met today. So really quite key there on Brent Crude. And if we look at the NatGas chart, this has been looking bullish. We called it bullish this morning. Upside targets down on the 60-minute. If you go to the 1-minute chart on NatGas, you see that upside target there this morning. That's why we called it bullish. If you're trading NatGas, you want to be using those 1-minute charts. Coal also looking a little bit stronger. Remember, coal looked worse than most of the other charts. It gave an upside target just in February at 95. Gave an upside target to 107. That's where we've got to on coal, not through on the daily yet, so really quite interesting. Looking at carbon, we're looking at the European emissions contract. We can see here that we are pushing higher, making a new high this morning. That's really cool. We've got these extreme high points here. They're just showing some exhaustion on the 60-minute chart, so we need to watch that. You want to look really to the 1-minute chart again. Still have the great train tracks there on the 1-minute targets, so that's looking good for emissions. And if we look at the UK contract, we're seeing much the same here. So really quite interesting. And then if we look at gas, TTF, the front month contract, we're seeing here this very interesting situation with multiple targets. The upside target to 31 is looking very good on the 60-minute chart. And again, if you're trading gas short term, you want to be looking at the 1-minute charts. So this morning's target's been met, so that's quite interesting. Looking at the 10-minute, we've still had this big target on the upside there, so that's quite interesting as well. You've got to be watching all of these charts, and I'm going to cover this in more detail in a more detailed session. I'll put that session in the comments where you can watch that video, but it's really quite key that we just can't cover all the ground in the 10 minutes that we've got. Looking at German power, this has also smashed this morning. Interestingly here, a downside target that's now looking dated, new upside target. We're still below the cloud on the daily chart, on the 60-minute chart, really quite key. You've got to go to the shorter term charts and look for the targets. And really, there's just a shortage of targets on power, but there is no denying that it's looking very bullish indeed. So watch this longer session. I'll put the link to that in the comments below, where we will answer the question, have European energy markets bottomed, and what you need to look out for. Until then, happy charting. Bye for now.